Welcome to Stories for Wonderful Children. I'm Dan Wendelin, your host and storyteller. Years ago, I began recording the bedtime stories I told my children every night. Now, we would like to share those stories with you. I hope you enjoy my Stories for Wonderful Children.
Felt like doing some exploring, but she didn't feel like going very far. She just wanted to explore just around her house. So she went up to the roof, and she got on Joey's back, and she said, "Joey, let's just fly around the neighborhood and see what there is to see." So she got on his back, and he flapped his wings, and they flew up into the air, and they began to fly around the neighborhood. And as they were flying around the neighborhood, Winella noticed something that she'd seen many times before, but for some reason this time it seemed to just catch her attention. She said, "Joey, what's that?" She was pointing to a large tower that was taller than maybe 3 or 4 houses stacked together. It was made out of metal. It was painted a bright green color. Joey said, "That's the water tower, Winella." "Water tower," said Winella. "It doesn't look like it's made out of water." "No," said Joey, "it's where they store the water. They pump it up into that tower so that it's up in the air, and that way even if power goes out, there's still enough water up there that we get water to our houses even when the power's out, because the water flows downhill from that tower." "Oh," said Winella. "So that's all that's in there is water?" "As far as I know," said Joey. "Why is there that little bridge around the outside?" Said Joey, "I'm not really sure. I guess so that if people need to take samples or need to check the tank or something, they can walk around it." "Let's go take a look," said Winella. So Joey banked his wings and turned.
What? Did you say
banked. Banking means that if you're flying along straight and you want to make a turn, you sort of go over to the side. That's called banking. And when you go over to the side, it makes you turn. So anyway, Joey flew towards the water tower. As they got closer, Winella said, "Did you see that, Joey?" "See what?" said Joey. "There's something on the water tower," said Winella. "There's nothing on the water tower," said Joey. "I don't see anything." "No," said Winella. "Look closely. Up, it's gone now." "Look," said Joey. "We'll look when we get there." "What did it look like?" "I don't know," said Winella. "It was green, the same color green as the water tower, so I couldn't really see much except just a little movement, but I couldn't make out a shape." "All right," said Joey. "I think maybe you've been out in the sun too long flying on my back." "I'm sure what I saw," said Winella. "Okay." Joey flew down. They landed first on the top of the water tower, but they noticed that the top was really pretty steep, and they did not want to try to walk around on something that was that steep. So instead, Joey took off again and flew down to the little ledge that went around the outside of the water tower, and they landed. And Joey said, "See? No one's here." "No," said Winella. "Over this way." They began to walk around the catwalk, around the outside of the water tower, and they got halfway around. Winella said, "What's this?" Joey said, "It looks like a door." "Why would there be a door into a water tank?" said Winella. "I don't know," said Joey. "You want to look?" "Sure," said Winella. So they pushed on the door, and it slid open. They stepped inside. The door swung shut behind them with a quiet clang. When they got inside, it was very dark, but as their eyes adjusted, they could see there was a little bit of light. They were in a room with glass on 3 sides, looking out into the inside of the water tank. "Ooh," said Joey, "this must be some sort of neat water observatory kind of thing." Winella said, "Here, I think there's a switch on the wall." She flipped the switch, and bright floodlights came on the outside of the observatory, and they could see the inside of the water tank. Winella noticed 3 things immediately. The first was that the water tank was full almost completely to the top, and that it was not green on the inside like it was on the outside. The second was that the water tank was not empty. There were a number of mermaids swimming around inside it. And the third thing she noticed was that the green shape that she had seen earlier was now standing against the back wall. It was sort of vaguely shaped like a person, but there weren't any sharp edges to it, and it didn't seem to really have a face. "What are you?" said Winella. "Yeah," said Joey, "what are you?" The thing didn't say anything. Winella said, "I wonder if it can communicate." "I wonder if it's dangerous," said Joey. "I wonder why the mermaids are here," said Winella. The thing appeared to get excited when she said that. She said, "Do you have something to do with the mermaids?" The thing jumped up and down. "I wonder if it can write," said Winella. She reached into her adventuring clothes. She always kept a little pad of paper to write down her adventures, and a pen. She set them down on the floor in front of the thing, and it picked them up. It began to write. She looked over its shoulder and said, "I'm a watermelon, and my job was to watch over this group of young mermaids that was on a class field trip from the ocean to the water tank. But they've gotten stuck here when the water valve got closed. I need it reopened so we can go back out the pipe to the ocean. And I can't figure out how to do it." "Oh," said Winella. "Well, let me see if I can figure it out." She walked over to the controls on the wall, and she saw that one of them was labeled Main Water Valve. She reached out and turned the little wheel, and she heard something getting open as she turned it. The mermaids clearly heard it too, because they all stopped swimming around and they looked. And when they looked, Winella could see a big metal hatch on the inside of the tank rising open. And when it rose open, into the tank swam 2 fish police. And then following the fish police was a much older mermaid. Clearly they had been worried as they rounded up the mermaids. And then they looked over at the glass, and the elder mermaid made a beckoning motion for the watermelon, and to Winella and Joey's surprise, the watermelon walked up to the glass and then just sort of melted right through it and appeared on the other side inside the tank and swam after the mermaids, who all stopped.
Was it green?
The watermelon? Yes. Well, not after it had gone through the glass. After it had gone through the glass, it sort of lost its green color and became kind of watercolored, so it just looked like a...
What is it, a water chameleon?
Yeah. It sort of looked like a shape in the water. Now, you've seen watermelons before, although we didn't know that that was their name. When the Queen of the Water came to visit Flibbertigibbet, and she had those creatures made entirely out of water with her, those are watermelons.
You mean the fish?
No, they're made out of water, and they can change color and change shape and change size. This watermelon was supposed to be keeping an eye on the mermaids, but sort of got lost with them and got stuck in the water tank. Well, each of the mermaids...
I guess they pushed on the door, and the door closed behind them.
Well, I think the valve just closed because it was scheduled to close, but they got stuck. So anyway, all the mermaids stopped by the glass and waved goodbye to Winella and Joey before they went down through the valve and swam out into the tank. And then Winella and Joey looked around the tank one more time, but it was sort of boring now with nothing swimming around in it. It was just a huge tank of water. Then Winella turned the wheel back, and the valve, big door inside the tank, shut. And then she flipped off the switch, and they walked out of the big water tank. And Winella got back on Joey's back, and they flew off, back on their explorations of the neighborhood. They didn't really see anything else that caught Winella's eye, although she did, on her way back to her house, see Tracy out with her daddy walking their dog, and she waved to them as they went over. And then she got back home and went back inside.
Thanks for listening to Stories for Wonderful Children. I created today's story, but questions and witty commentary were supplied by my children. The music was created by Brandon Thompson. Your reviews and personal recommendations are the main way that new listeners find the show, so thank you for spreading the word. I'd love to hear your feedback, so feel free to get in touch via email or social media, which are listed in the show notes. Until next time, I'm Dan Wendelin, reminding you to tell someone you love a story.